Hello, my dear students. This is me, Sasya Bertina. Welcome you to the online class. Many of you didn't watch my previous video, and if you want to improve your English reading, do not forget to watch the previous video. And once again, I'm providing here the link. So those who wish to improve your English reading, please don't forget to watch this video. So let us now start with the story of the return of the Iron Man. Many of you have watched the movie like Bhootnath or Robot, and here in the story of the Iron Man. But before this, let us learn about the author of the story. The author of the story, The Return of the Iron Man, is Ted Hughes. He was an English poet and author. The first book he wrote was The Hawk in the Rain. He wrote many books, including stories for children. He attended Mexburg Grammar School and wrote his first poem when he was only 15 years of age. He likes reading Shakespeare, Keats' poet, and call it folk tale. The story of the Iron Man goes like this. From nowhere the Iron Man appeared. He walked from one farm to the other. The soil was very soft. So wherever the giant goes, he left marks of footprints that was like the size of a single bed. The farmers were very frightened. They remained silent and they didn't know what to do. They kept following the footprints, and they found that wherever the footprints visited, all the metal machinery disappeared. And finally, they found that the footprints led back to the top of the cliff, where the little boy had seen this Iron Man appear when he was fishing. So the footprints led right to the cliff top. And from the cliff top, they could see down were torn marks on the rocks, where a huge iron body had slid down. Below was the grey, empty, moving tide. The Iron Man shows that he had gone back into the sea. And so the furious farmers, they started to... And the Iron Man had stolen all their machinery. And they started questioning among themselves whether he had eaten it. Or anyway, all these machinery have already gone. And now they are afraid what will happen to them what will he take next time when he comes back? Will he take cows or horses or even people? So they thought that they have to do something. And they couldn't call the police because nobody would believe anything about this iron. Nobody would believe anything about this iron monster. They would have to do something for themselves. So what did they do? See what they do, okay? So they choose the bottom of the hill where the Iron Man had come from, and a hole. Enormous means very big hole. A hole which is wider than a house. Just imagine, such a big house. And as deep as 3 trees, one on top of the other. Just like this in this picture. The height of these trees, you see 3 trees. And the sides of it were sheer as walls, so they have made like walls. They pushed all the earth to one side. They covered the hole with branches, with leaves, and they covered with straw, and the straw, then the hole. This hole looked like a freshly plowed field. Now on the side of the hole, opposite the slope up to the top of the cliff, they put an old rusty lorry. So why do they put this rusty lorry? It is only just to entice or to trap the Iron Man to come towards the hole. And they think that the Iron Man, after seeing this rusty lorry, he would come over the top of the cliff out of the sea, and when he see this old lorry which was and to eat it. And he know that if he does this, he will have to cross the hole. And the moment he stopped with his great weight onto that soil, he will surely fall down into the hole. He would crash there into the hole and would fall down into the hole. He would crash there into the hole and would never be able to get out because the hole was so deep. They would find him there in the hole. And then what will they do when they found him in the hole? They will bring the few bulldozers and earth that he hadn't already eaten, and they would push the pile of earth on top of him, and they will bury him forever in the hole. They were very certain about this, that they are going to catch him. And so therefore next morning, with great excitement, happy, joyfully, all the farmers, they gathered together to go along to examine their trap, because they were thinking that the Iron Man will be there in the hole. So with fear, they came carefully closer, expecting to see the hand of the Iron Man tearing the soil and the edge of the pit. But they found that the red lorry stood just as they had left it. There was no movement, and the soil lay just as they had left it. It was undisturbed. No one has done anything. They see no mark of the Iron Man. So everything was just as they had left it. So this shows clearly that the Iron Man did not come. He might be coming on the next day. So on the next morning, all the farmers, again, they went together, and to their disappointment, they saw that everything was just as they had left it. And so they went on day after day. The Iron Man never come. Now the farmers began to wonder if he would ever come again. They began to wonder if he had ever come at all. They started to ask many questions, explanations, what had happened to their missionary. And no one likes to believe that the iron monster can eat tractors and cars. They cannot believe that. But they were wondering where their missionary will go. Who owned the red lorry, he needed that, so he took it away. And now what is left is a beautiful deep trap without any bait. Grass began to grow on the loose soil. The farmers talked of filling the hole in. But after all, they can't leave the giant pit like that, because somebody might fall in. Maybe some strangers coming along might just walk over it and it will fall in. But also they don't want to fill it in, because they had put in so much of hard work in digging. Besides, they all had a sneaking fear. They are feeling very uneasy about it. So their only weapon to fight against this Iron Man was the hole. So at last they decided that they are going to put a little notice: danger, keep off. So this is to warn people away that they should not step into that hole. One of the boy in that village named Hogarth, he had an idea. This is the same boy who had seen the Iron Man coming from the sea when he was fishing. This Hogarth, he thought that he could use that hole to trap a fox. Okay? So he found a dead hen one day and threw it out on the loose soil over the trap. Then towards evening, he climbed a tree nearby and waiting for the fox to come and sky, he could hear the sea Then there, standing at the edge of the hole, was a fox, a big red fox. This fox, he stood looking towards the dead hen. Then Hogarth, he stopped at hen. Then Hogarth, he stopped breathing. And the fox stood without moving. He started to sniff. He sniffed out towards the hen. But he's such a clever fox. He did not step out on the... Slowly he walked around the white patch of raw soil till he got back to where he had started. And he sniffed all the time out towards the bird. But so clever, he did not walk into the trap. Hogarth himself, was this fox too smart to walk out there? Was it not so? As he was thinking about this, he saw that the fox, he stopped sniffing. And this fox, he turned his head and looked towards the top of the cliff. He was wondering what the fox had seen that made him to look towards the top of the cliff. So he too, he looked towards the top of the cliff. And there, in the enormous, huge blue evening sky, stood the Iron Man. His evening sky stood the Iron Man. He stood on the brink of the cliff, gazing inland. Gazing inland means looking towards the interior of the country. In a moment, the fox vanished. He was so frightened. Hogarth was there left alone. So Hogarth, carefully and quietly, hardly breathing, he climbed slowly down the tree, because he thought that he must get home and tell his father about this Iron Man, because no one believed that there exists such a man. But at the bottom of the tree he stopped. He looked towards the cliff and he could no longer see the Iron Man. Had he gone over the cliff into the sea? Down the hill, in the darkness under the high skyline, means outline of land, towards Hogarth and the farms? He could not see the man against the twilight sky. Twilight means sunset. Then he understood what was happening, because he heard a strange tearing and creaking sound. Creaking sound means very high, harsh pitch sound. The Iron Man was pulling up the barbed wire, and this barbed wire fence led down the hill. And soon Hogarth could see him, and as he came nearer, tearing the wire as he came along from the fence post, he rolled them, eaten these pasta, okay, just like this in the picture. You might have eaten, and this Iron Man, he started rolling the wire fence in a form of spaghetti and started eating. The Hogarth, he couldn't believe to see this Iron Man eating the barbed fencing wire. And Hogarth, he started thinking that if this Iron Man went along the fence, eating as he moved, he would not come anywhere near the trap, which was out in. He could spend the whole night wandering about the countryside along the fences, rolling up the wire and eating it, and never he would come to the fence, because there is no trap there. There is no iron. Because you remember they have removed that bait or that trap, the iron rusty lorry. Okay, so they have removed from there. So Hogarth had an idea. What he did, you see, he's a very courageous boy. In his pocket, he had a Mannathane knife. He took this long nail and a knife, And you know what happened? He was so courageous. He started to tap the nail and the knife blade together to make a sound. A cling sound. Cling sound means the metal. A cling sound. Cling sound means the metals, the sound of metals. At the sound of this metal, the Iron Man's hands became still. Still means it stopped, okay? Because this Iron Man was rolling the wire fencing. And so he stopped. He slowly turned his head, and the headlamp means a large, powerful light eyes shone towards Hogarth. And again, this Iron Man heard the sound cling, cling, cling. Slowly, this Iron Man took 3 strides, means steps. Okay, he walked long steps towards Hogarth, and again he stopped. It was now quite dark, but the headlamps it shone red. Hogarth, he pressed close to the tree trunk, tried to hide himself. Between him and the man lay the white lid of the trap. Cling, cling, cling. Again, Hogarth, he tapped the nail on the knife. Now the Iron Man was coming. Hogarth could feel the earth shaking under the weight of his footsteps, because this Iron Man is like a giant, very huge. So now Hogarth, he's thinking, was it too late for him to run away from this Iron Man? Hogarth, he stared, means he looked straight at the Iron Man. Looming, that means frightening, searching for him for the taste of the metal. So this Iron Man was searching for the taste of the metal that had made him the inviting sound. Cling, 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 it went the nail on the knife again. So this Iron Man was walking towards the sound, this inviting sound, and you know what? Crash, he fell into and the Iron Man vanished. He disappeared. He was in the pit. The Iron Man had fallen into the pit. Hogarth, so courageous, he went close. The earth was shaking as the Iron Man struggled underground. He wanted to come out. Hogarth peered, means he looked with difficulty over the torn edge of the great pit. Far below, 2 deep red headlamps glared up at him from the pitch blackness. He could hear the Iron Man's insides grinding down there, and it sounded like a big lorry grinding its gears on a steep hill. You have heard about when the lorry it goes up to the hill, steep hill, it makes lots of sound. So in the same way, this Iron Man also was making a similar sound. So Hogarth, he set off. He went with this great news, and as he passed the cottages, the small houses of the people, he turned down the lane towards his father's farm, and he was shouting, "The Iron Man's in the trap, the Iron Man's in the trap, and we have caught the Iron Giant." And this is the good news that courageous boy was passing through as he goes home. So this is the end of chapter 2. I hope you have understood. So after you watch this video,